Your special operations chapters, I thought were really, really exciting to read. And one of the notable things that really jumped out is you talked about the training you went through when you were going into the intelligence officer program at first and then later on in special operations. And I can't remember the exact wording, but the trainer basically said to you, we're not trying to trip you up. The real world has its way of doing that. And you talked about on a training exercise, like a cat escaping a house. And at another point, dog poop was like interfering with it. And this was not like you being put through an obstacle course deliberately. Life just does this. And I was wondering if you could talk about that, how there are certain things that just happen in the field that you couldn't plan, you couldn't script, and you couldn't necessarily have a plan for if you tried.
If I could go back and answer the James Bond question, which is one thing to get wrong, or all these shows get wrong, is that the plans go as scripted. The plans never go as scripted. Something always happens. And I say in the book, so our trainer, our grizzled veteran of hundreds of special operations, and special operations for those listening is when a target reaches, individual reaches a threshold of investigation, warrants, we were allowed to apply for warrants to do what we call technical surveillance, which would be maybe implanting
James Bond never needed a warrant. Jack Bauer
the
never needed a warrant.
paperwork. I mean, I think about that all the time. But we then get approvals to do more, we'd say, technical surveillance or close access. We break into places, try to plant devices, look for information in places where individuals would otherwise expect a privacy, or that we would not otherwise have the opportunities to go. And so that's what we were doing, as we were going to do those things. And of course, as I said, you plan this operation. Okay, it's going to be late at night and everyone's going to be asleep. We're going to get out of the van. And as we took 2 steps out of the van in training, and my colleague stepped in a huge pile of dog poo. And you obviously cannot break into a house and leave the smell of dog poo all over the place when you weren't supposed to be there in the first place. So you have to go back in the van and trade shoes. But our trainer said, we are not going to mess with you. We're not going to place any arbitrary tricks, traps, anything like that, because we know life finds a way and things happen you don't expect. And every single time, if it was people falling asleep in their front rooms where you think they're going to be asleep, but they fell asleep, where they can see an operational where you're supposed to be operating, a neighbor still up at 3 a.m. watching the Godfather rerun well into the night, or smokers, people out late walking their dogs and smoking constantly, garbage day, people coming out where you don't expect it. It was all the time. And so that is one thing that you don't see, is everyone waiting in a van for an extra hour for the neighbor to fall asleep or the dog to finish going to the bathroom so you can conduct a national security investigation. You talk about overtime, a lot of money racked up waiting for us in vans while we waited for people to go to sleep.
I